that when they wear their gear, it changes joint range of motion.
Yep.
It has a huge impact on joint range of motion. So we've got a duty belt here. So this is a police duty belt, which goes around the hips. All right. So as you can see, if I'm going to put that duty belt on you, it's pretty stiff, firstly. But likewise, that's generally empty. I've got a couple of holsters there for magazines and, trauma kit, first aid kit, etc.
Yep.
But if I'm going to load that up with all my gear, it's going to have around 8 to 10 kilograms worth of load on your body.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, if I'm going to move, it's got to be tight so it doesn't bounce around.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to have to put it on nice and tight.
Yep.
And what we found is if you do things like a straight leg raise, once you put that on,
Yep.
you lose about 15 to 20 degrees.
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
you've lost range of motion at the hip.
Yeah. Wow.
Straight away. So, I mean, that's not rocket surgery. We'll talk about the effects that this can have later on as well.
Yep.
But okay, so you've lost range of motion at the hip. So then what does that mean, for normal things like walking?
Yeah.
It changes your gait.
Yep.
It changes your walking patterns. Now, again, specific adaptation to the imposed demand, we become very efficient at the way we perform things. I'm now changing how I normally walk,
Yep.
which means I'm less efficient. It can also mean I'm now loading structures that I don't normally load.
Yes.
And therefore those structures now get increased wear and tear on them.
Yep.
So it affects motion, which therefore increases your fatigue risk. So getting their gear on is important. And it also means that once you move out of your standard, so because we've been walking, for most of us since about the age of 1,
Yep.
and then up to the age of 4, we've been fine tuning that walking pattern.
Yep.
We've also got a lot of redundancy in our movement. We can have slight variations, and like you step and your ankle rolls a little bit, but you keep walking. You don't go to custard. Problem is, if you've now changed what is your normal, you haven't developed resiliency patterns around deviations from that normal.
Yep.
So any small change is magnitude greater than it would be if it was your normal walking and you've modified it slightly.
Yep.
So ultimately what you're looking at once you add this load is you're changing your normal gait pattern. So there's your change into the resilience, but now I'm changing my change.
Yes.
And I've got no redundancy.
Yep.
So risk of injury goes through the roof.
Yep.
And ironically enough, what's one of the primary causes of injury in these workplaces? Slips, trips, and falls.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So the slip and the trip is the mechanism. The fall's the actual injury.
Yep, that's
often. All right. So when you look at that, we talk about these downstream changes in range of motion, the impact it can have. So let's look at balance. We know that we've got physios, the masters of balance. We know that your initial balance strategy is your ankle.
Yep.
Right. So, you're standing on a bus and there's this little external perturbation, your toes sink in and you waver at your ankle.
Yeah.
Your ankle strategy. Right. Now let's look at a firefighter. Wear some boots. We've got some firefighter boots somewhere down there. Oh, here they are. They're right by me. All right.
Yep.
So let's look at the stiffness. That's a firefighter boot.
Yep.
That's designed to withstand a high amount of heat, but also the actual environment. It's got to keep their foot safe in the environment that they're operating in.
Yeah. Compared to the flex in my joggers here, where it will bend, basically at the first metatarsal joint. There's no flex. Flex doesn't come in until that mid part of the foot.
But have a look at how much weight-bearing dorsiflexion you think you can get through that.
Yeah, not much.
So as soon as you put those sorts of boots on, and think about the environments they're in, that have just been sprayed with water and foam and everything.
Yep.
So that the slip risk is very, very high.
Yeah.
But you've lost your primary balance mechanism, which is your ankle strategy.
Yep.
All right.
Plus it weighs what, 2.5, 3 kilos?
Yeah, they're heavy.
Yeah.
Firefighters have very heavy boots.
Yeah.
A little bit different. So like in the military, boots are normally a little bit lighter.
Yep.
There's a new set of boots created by an Australian company called Steel Blue.
Yep.
They've just developed their first military boot, ironically enough, called the Townsville.
Yes.
And the research we've done on them, within a week, they've got the same weight-bearing dorsiflexion as you would have barefoot.
Yeah, okay.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Because
awesome.
some of the amazing research that's come out of New Zealand by Major Jacques Rousseau there, as part of his PhD, he found that recruits, because their boot stiffness, would actually have reduced weight-bearing dorsiflexion when they were out of boots up to a year later. So it actually changed the range of motion, particularly weight-bearing dorsiflexion, even when they're out of boots.
Yeah, wow.
Think about what that would mean for your running. If you go running and doing all these other activities that you do, and it's not rocket surgery why low limbs, primary mechanism, primary site of injury in the military.
Yep.
Because they love running, they love walking with packs, etc. So we've now just lost our balance strategy at the ankle.
Yep.
So then our second balance strategy is a hip strategy.
Yep.
All right. So the hips go out, you drop your center of mass down. But they're wearing breathing apparatus. They're wearing a backpack. They're wearing a duty belt.
Yep.
So they've now tightened their range, tightened up around the hips. And we've just spoken about the loss of motion you've got at your hips.
Yep.
So we've taken away our balance strategy at the ankle. We've taken away our balance strategy at the hip, which means the only one we've got left is a step strategy.
Yep.
Problem is your step strategy, force equals mass times acceleration. So my body mass is now increased by the equipment I'm having.
Yep.
I'm starting to accelerate and fall forward. So I'm creating acceleration, which means I've got to step as quickly as possible.
Yep.
So the amount of force I need to generate to counteract the increased mass and the acceleration is greater. So slip, trips, and falls increase, but so do muscle stressing injuries.
Yes. Yep.
So we find slip, trips, and falls and muscle stretching prominent in firefighters.
Yes.
So again, it's the nature of the equipment which increases injuries. So if you're going to do balance strategies and falls prevention activities, you've got to make sure that they actually learn that proprioception and ability whilst wearing their load.
Yeah. Awesome. Great tips. We probably inherently know that, if we want to, like you said, return to sports stuff, get your cricketers, get your pads and your bats on and get all their kind of equipment on. Footy players too, you get your shoulder pads or get things taped up. Doing anything on court with a basketball player or a football player, you have them in their gear. It just makes inherent sense to kind of test them in their environment. But I think we probably, as a whole, and I'm guilty of it quite a lot myself, not having the right equipment and uniforms on to test whether our military, firefighter, police officer personnel are truly fit to go back to work with getting them to do a squat test with 20 kilos or do a 10 meter walk down holding onto a 20 kilo load, or just doing a random checklist of things that tell us that they can carry a load. It tells us they can carry 20 kilos, but that doesn't tell us where they're carrying that 20 kilos. It's so in a time perspective too, it's going to be inefficient testing because we're only testing them for probably a 20-minute window at best if we're lucky of that time in the clinic too. So it's making me rethink a lot about my clinical practice, just hearing some of those things. So this is
trying to stimulate thought. That's the aim, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right.
But so then if I'm conditioning somebody to return to work and I know slip, trips, and falls are a primary mechanism of injury, and I know they're going to lose their ankle strategy, no matter. I can do as much ankle range as I want. As soon as they put their boots on, that it's gone.
Yep.
And you're not going to increase the range of motion at the boots, and you can do all this wonderful science and get them to do more wear and tear on the boots to increase the elasticity of the boots. But as soon as they change boots, it's gone. So we know that's not going to work. We know that hip's not going to work. We know step strategy is going to be vital. So that's what I want to focus on.
Yep.
So a lot of my drills will be fast feet.
Yep.
Teaching that neural pattern of getting their foot out quickly.
Yep.
Because again, force equals mass times acceleration. If I can get my foot out quickly, I'm not going to develop as much acceleration as I fall.
Got it.
Fast feet is critical.
Yep.
So that as soon as they take these bumps and jolts, they can stabilize quickly.
Yep.
So again, a little bit different. Likewise, as you rightfully said, this you can't just do a quick 5-minute session with their gear on and go, you're fine.
Yep. So
quite often we might say to them, okay, I want you to come back, if you're on a return to work plan, I want you to come back at the end of your shift once you've worn all your gear.
Yes.
Or I want you to put a pack on and I want you to do 5-kilometer pack march and then come in.
Yep.
It's the same as as you would do with a runner.
Yep.
A runner goes, I start to feel pain at 5 kilometers.
Yep.
I get this click in my hip.
Yep.
You don't put them on, get them to run up and down the clinic for 20 meters and go, I don't see it.
Yep.
You say, okay, I want you to run 5Ks and then come into the clinic after your 5K run.
Come and show me.
So you want to fatigue them beforehand. Same thing applies.
Yep.
So you've got to think about these second and third order effects as a leading cause of mechanisms of injury because of the nature of their loads.